Now that we've got the dress working, we can move on to the pants. And so I'll duplicate this blast node, change the delete non-selected, and let's get a remesh in there as well. Now the pants are basically leggings for this model, so we may actually be able to get away with something without needing to sim. And I'm just going to put down a point to form node. This will let us just point to form something and hook up the first input to the pants. I'm going to bring a copy of the body over as well and add a time shift. Hook that up to this and delete the expression, so leave it at frame 1. Make that the second input of the point to form and the third one the original body. So now we'll have the pants nicely deforming. Obviously they're getting stretched a little bit here, and that's because of this radius is too large, so the radius is grabbing on the first frame, and what's happening is that point 1 is going to be a little bit too large here, so some of these points are getting grabbed from that side of the body. So let's find out where it's the worst, something like that, and just lower this radius until it snaps back into place. That's looking a lot better. So of course we could have gone and tried to simulate the cloth on the body, but this all depends on what your goal is and what the incoming geometry is. And in this case, because these are form-fitting on the actual legs of the model, you're not really going to see too much. You might see a little bit of wrinkling in the back here when she folds her legs. But I think overall, a point to form is going to work just fine. That's something with production as well. You don't always need to simulate everything. All you really want is your outcome that looks realistic and as fast as you can get it with as much iteration as possible in any given time frame. Now we do have to do one more thing because the pants are actually underneath the dress, and right now the dress is only using the body as a collision object, not the pants as well. If we first look at the pants, I just want to compare that with the body, and I just want to make sure that the body is never going to come through and show through the pants. So to make this a little bit easier, just add a color, hook that up to the body, make that red, and add a merge, and just merge the pants and the body together. And already I can see that the body is coming through the pants here. So what's a quick way to fix this? Well, we can go back to our old VDB from polygons and an attribute wrangle. So I'll put down a VDB, hook that up to the body. We're definitely going to need a smaller voxel size, but also make sure that we have a polycap and just turn this pretty low. Might even go lower because we want to get that really close to the body now because we're just going to use it to shove the pants a little bit outside. Let's hook these both up, and just to check on this merge again where we're actually seeing things come through. So here's a good example. And we're going to go down to the pants. We're going to do something we've done before, which is use the SDF to push the pants outside of the body. Okay, so I've done that. Bring up the body, I should say. We actually don't see much of a difference when I toggle it on and off. Well, why is that? If I zoom in here, remember that this wrangle is moving points outside of the body, and what's going inside is just in the middle of primitives, so we don't really have enough detail to do that. So I'll come back up to the remesher, and let's just turn that down. And there we go. Now we start to bring it out. Now there's still little places that's not quite working. So I'm going to come back up and just make that a little bit bigger. Oh, that's actually working quite nicely. Still some areas, so just to get around anything where we might have parts still cutting through, just going to move this merge out of the way. I'm going to add a volume wrangle. I'm going to say surface minus equals, say 0.01, and this will just shift out the body a little bit. Maybe that's actually too much. Try something like 002. Really just trial and error here until something looks good. And we can go back to the wrangle. Now we don't see anything coming through, and I'll just name this SDF push. Well, one more step with the simulation is that since we do have these pants now, we need these to be collision objects on the dress. Let's step back over to the dress for a moment. I'll just bring all of these things down. We've got the body here, and I'm just going to add a merge, and I'll be merging in those pants as a collision object. And let's look at the cloth. And the one thing I want to make sure is that we don't see the pants coming through the dress, which we sort of do here. What can I do to fix that? Well, I could go back and do the same sort of thing where I'm using a VDB and I'm pushing the dress outside of the pants, but in this case, I know the dress is more or less staying down, and so I don't really even need the pants up here. So I'll come back to this SDF push and just go to selection mode, get the polygons, and make sure I'm only looking at it, and just select some of these and hit a group. Actually, what I might do is instead of doing a manual selection, I'll do a bounding region and just move this up. So in case our geometry does change, I don't have to redo that again, that group selection. And I'll say that this is the hip, and I'll now add a blast node. Put that in here, and we're going to blast away that hip. I'm also going to add a normal node, just so that the color stays okay. And now I know if I look at the dress and the rest of the collision geometry, I don't see that come through at all. And I can go through and simulate this, and it will use the body and the pants as a collider object for the dress. So I'll go ahead and do that now and catch up with you after it's done. And gotta interrupt my own simulation here. I noticed that as I merged, as I stepped through, all of a sudden the pants were disappearing. When I made this group to blast away, I made it on a bounding box, and the underlying geometry was animated so that it was changing every frame. Really what I need to do here is add a time shift, much like we did above, put that to frame 1, put a group copy in, and I'm going to group copy that hip group back over, and now I can blast it off. And now I know it's going to be the same ones blasted off the entire time. And I'll go back and simulate and catch up again. Welcome back. The first thing I should say is that after my cache all simmed out, didn't really work. Dress sort of blew up, and that's because I was getting a lot of intersections between the arms and the hips especially, and I hadn't quite carved away enough in the prior step. So when the arms went through the hips, it caught the dress and just pulled it off. So one quick way to fix that, without having to carve away everything even more and test some more settings, is to simply blast off sections you don't need. So I added a blast, took off all the arms, took off the bottom of the legs as well, since the dress never gets down that far, and used that as my collider object. And it's pretty good technique. You really want to cut away everything you're not going to simulate with, and everything that's just being a hassle that you're not really going to see an interaction with, just get away, because it's going to slow down the sim and you don't need it. And after I've simulated that, everything seems to be working fine. I can merge that back in with the body, and I just added a color so we can see the legs. And that kind of gets us through, a first pass of the sim. But this is a good place to stop and move on and see some things we can do after that.